Hello. Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how to build one of these and also the mods that you need to build one of these with Valkyrian skies. So the mandatory mods that you will need to build one of these is VS Takeoff, Tournament, Clockwork, Create, and of course Valkyrian skies and its dependencies. Some optional stuff is like create copycats, which adds like different shape blocks. Uh, Very helpful for different shapes and making different stuff. Uh, Another thing to know is you're going to need to make physics objects. So there's a few ways to do this. I've found out of like six. You can use physics bearings, infuser, takeoff bearings, Valkyrian Sky's ship creators, which is just a stick, ship assembler, which I've never used, and the Eureka helm, which I don't particularly use. So let's take a look at Takeoff. This mod is pretty buggy. I don't use a lot of the stuff in it other than the bearing. Um, I was gonna show the balloon, but it broke. And every time I try to break this block that's here, my game crashes. So I'm just not gonna touch that. But here's the bearing, and you place it down, and it spawns with a gold block. And that gold block is a physics object. And you can rotate it along an axis, and you can build off of it. You can also use it to connect to other ships. So if you have a pre-existing ship, you can place a bearing and it will connect to it. As long as it is in a close vicinity to where you placed it. And to remove that, you can just break that. Pretty straightforward. That's Takeoff. And this is Tournament. So Tournament adds a lot more things, such as thrusters, and a way to upgrade those thrusters. Balloons and powered balloons. The difference between the two is you can toggle the powered balloon, and the texture has this little red thing on the corner. So that's how you tell it apart. And this is the sensor, the distance sensor. It senses when a block is in front of it, no matter if it's a physics block or a regular placed block. The mod also adds rope and rope hooks. So you would place a rope hook on a physics object, or two physics objects, or even a stationary object, and you connect it with the rope. This will constrain it to a certain distance, and I think I fucked it up. But no matter, it's fine. That's what it does. So yeah. There's a spinner. I have never used the spinner, so I have no idea what to say about this. Though it does look like a bunch of thrusters spinning in a circle, so it's probably just a bearing with spinners. It makes it spin on a bearing. This is the ballast block. The Valkyrian Skies mod adds weight to every block, and as far as I know, this is the lightest block. So the ballast block you can find in Tournament right here. Tournament also adds pulse gun and deleting tool. Delete tool is exactly what it sounds like. It just deletes your ships, and the pulse just kind of like nudges it. It gives it a little push. I don't really know what you're gonna use that for. So, I mean, it's there though. Here's the different stages of thrusters, different upgrades. So here's your basic. As soon as you place it down, this is what it's gonna be. If you upgrade it once, you get the blue. You upgrade it twice, you get the bluish stripes. 3 times, you get whatever the hell this is with some red and blue, and red and bluish stripes. So that's as far as it goes. And to be honest, this is kind of overkill. I usually do the bluish stripes max, but it's all up to you. It depends on what you're doing with it. A really helpful feature is that you can scale ships. So I have this little block here, and the way I made it was with the VS command scale. So I type VS scale at the name of the ship, which I named it scale test, and I will size it to 1. So you can change the size of ships all the way down to 0.1, which I had it originally at. So this is very helpful because as it changes size, it also changes weight. So it will be lighter and you can make lighter things with it, which is helpful when you don't want things to be heavy in any sort of linkage or contraption. Another thing I forgot to say about the thrusters was you activate them with a redstone signal, and that's how it pushes. That's about it for the mods that are in this, and I guess I just can go to building the engine now. Alright, so now I'm going to be showing you how to make a single-cylinder steam piston engine. You can use a lot of this knowledge to make any sort of other engine, like this V, or maybe an inline, or maybe not even a steam engine at all. But this is what I'm going to be making for you, just to show you the basics. So I'm going to be using a half-scaled ship. You can do this with the mini ship stick. If you click it once, it'll be half-scaled. So now that I've made a platform, I will start by making a raised kind of post sort of thing here. And I will, oh shit, I forgot to lock it. Okay, this kind of will happen if you don't lock your shit. So you can do that with the Gravitron from Clockwork. Right click it, and then left click. And now it's unmovable. Alright, let's go on. So you want to make sort of this is forming the crankshaft. So you want to do this and that. Oh. So you have sort of a crank sort of deal here. And the longer you make this, that will increase or decrease the stroke of your piston. So how far up and down your piston will travel. And by playing around with that, you can change different characteristics of your engine. Now to form the piston, I'm going to use ice because friction exists in the mod, and for a low friction you will want to use ice. Now just remember to build off of your physics block, so that way it stays that part. Building off of each ship, as it's called, is its own part. So this will move freely up and separate from the rest of the other two ships here. Now for the piston, I'm going to lock it in place in a cylinder that I will make from stationary. I'll build it off of here from the base. Now you want to make sure that it's it's covering the piston decently when it's at its bottom dead center. And when it comes to the top of its stroke, that it goes a little over. And now if you run into this issue here, where your crankshaft, your conrod is running into the wall, you can just break that right there. A couple blocks depending on the problem. And there you go. You can add a counterweight if you want, which is just extra weight on the end of here. On the end of here, just to counteract the movement of the piston. But just for example reasons and to time-saving reasons, I'm not gonna do that. So now that you have your piston and crankshaft set up, you're going to want to extend this. And from its bottom stroke, bottom dead center, like this, you're going to want to build here. So this block comes through. And then make your piston face. Build a cylinder around this. There we go. And now we can add our thrusters. So thrusters are from the VS mod, as earlier. I'm gonna put 2. Don't put too many, and too powerful will probably lead it to be pushed and clip out of the cylinder. And then you'll have to somehow put it back in, which is tedious, but it's possible. I've done it many times. And from the create mod, you want to grab the redstone link and put one there. Just put one on either side, but just make sure you remember which one, because you want to put it on the opposite side for the top side. Then you want to click on it with the... Oh shit, I already used this one. I gotta use a different block. Sorry. Just click on it with the wrench. And now your cylinder is complete. Now for your timing, to make sure that the thrusters are pushing at the right time, because you need it to push only when it's on its bottom stroke. So starting from here, it would push down, and it would stop just before bottom dead center. And then it would start its next stroke, pushing up. Now to do that, we need to make a second crankshaft. 90 degrees offset from the original crankshaft. Now, you don't need this one to be as far out. You want it to only be one block above the pivot block. So that way it only travels 3 blocks up and down. For this, I'm going to be using a thinner block. And I will be moving it to the side. I usually replace the gold from the bearings with a lighter block because gold is heavy and it usually doesn't work well when it's on a bearing and offset like this with no counterweight. So this is about it for the construction of the crank, second crank, and eccentric arm. So you just want it to go up, and you don't want it to be too close to the cylinder where you can't have the second wall, which I will build right now to show you. Well, whatever number wall you want to call it. There's 4. Now, since this is in its top stroke, and this is in its topmost position, I will build it as so. You just want to make a box around, just like we did with the piston, but a little smaller. Oop, I left a gap. So now when the piston goes up and down, this moves 3 blocks up and down. Now we can put our distance sensors, which will trigger the thrusters. Oh, that is falling out, and yep. You just grab that, and the further you go away from your object, with holding it with the gravitron, the greater force applied. That is a tip and also a precautionary warning. You may break your shit by doing that, which is always really annoying. Put a couple blocks on the side so that way it doesn't fall out, hopefully. That looks better. All right, now for the sensors. Sorry about that. So you want to make sure that there's nothing in front of the sensors other than this block when it moves in front of it. That way, when it moves in front, you get the redstone signal, and when it moves away, it turns off. Now you could just put your redstone links onto here, but I prefer to have a way to turn it off. So I usually use a piston. Now any way works, but this is usually what I do. Now for timing and knowing which cylinder I need to put on which, you put the cylinder in motion, and when it's going down, you see which one lights up. So when it's on its downstroke, the top one lights up. So I will grab this one as an NBT, which if you don't know how to do that, it's holding down control and then middle mouse clicking. And when I place it, it will be the same as that one. I just have to click it with the wrench. Actually, wait, not this one. This one doesn't need the wrench. And the same with the bottom. As you can see, the two different ones. And now when I flip this, the piston moves and it's in motion. That's how you make an engine. Thank you.